Welcome to From Widow to Warrior, Transforming Your Pain into Purpose, Passion, and Power. I'm your host, Carolyn Carrasco, and today our special guest is Joan Price. Welcome, Joan.
Thank you. So happy to be here.
Oh, it's really nice to have you here. I'm really excited for our topic today. I think it's a really important part of the grieving process, and I think that you're going to offer a lot of valuable information for our ladies today.
Thank you.
So we're going to get started with our ceremony, and so we're going to start by collecting our photos or mementos or something that makes you feel close to your loved one. So gather those things around you, grab a candle and a lighter. Put that with my love. And then we're going to close our eyes and bring them close to our heart, bring them present with us, and thank them for everything we shared together. Then we're going to take 3 breaths. Our first breath is going to be in honor of our loves and the memories we shared together. So we'll take that breath now. Our second breath is with gratitude for the inner strength that has carried us through this journey thus far. We'll take that breath now. And our third and final breath is to breathe in the life that we are going to live. Let's take that breath now. And when you're ready, you feel at peace, ready to take in the information that's been prepared for you today, I welcome you to open your eyes, and we'll get started. So we'll start by introducing Joan. I'm going to read you a little bit about her. Joan is a public speaker, blogger, and author of 5 award-winning books, including the upcoming book, Sex After Grief, Navigating Your Sexuality After Losing Your Beloved. She is known by the media as the voice of senior sex and considers herself an advocate for ageless sexuality. So welcome, Joan.
Thank you so much, and thank you to all the grievers who are watching. And if you think that my subject, sex after grief, is not what you want to deal with right now, please watch this anyway. You don't have to be ready. Just be open. So people who are in grief and trying to figure out how sex happens or not are all different. We all approach grief differently, and similarly, we all approach sex after grief differently. The circumstances of your loss, your age, your personal feelings or beliefs about sex, your sexual history, what sexual expression means to you, and so much more can influence how you approach or don't approach sex during this grief period and later. Your body may be insistent or your body may be numb. We're all different. And I hope if you get one big message from my presentation, it's that nothing you do or decide not to do is wrong. Okay? We're all different. Nothing you do or decide not to do is wrong. So I'm here, and I'm so grateful to Carolyn for inviting me and, in fact, saying we need to end this series with your topic. Thank you, Carolyn. I love that because, yes, sexual expression is a part of being human. It was a part of our relationship. It is. We may feel that how can it ever come back? How I don't even want to. I don't want to think about it. Or you may be feeling I got to release this tension somehow, or I miss touch so much. I want to scream. I do scream. All of this is normal. All of this is acceptable. Please don't judge yourself for any feelings that you have that are leading you towards expressing yourself sexually or are leading you to even reject that for this period of time. Now, as Carolyn said, I'm the author of a book that's coming out in August titled Sex After Grief, Navigating Your Sexuality After Losing Your Beloved. And I want to give you just a little background about why I ended up writing that book and what it means to me. If you don't mind, I'm going to start with the beginning of my love affair with the wonderful artist Robert Rice. His name differs from mine by one letter, so he's Rice, I'm Price. I teach line dancing, one of the many things I do. And one evening in December 2000, I looked up, signing people in, and here was this beautiful, beautiful white-haired man with ocean blue eyes. He was wearing this sort of V-neck shirt, and there was a tuft of chest hair poking through it. And my first thought when I looked at him was, oh God, I could fall into those eyes. And my second thought was, I want to reach out and touch that chest hair. It was 9 months before I got a chance to do that. But after that, I never stopped touching it. He and I were in the most exhilarating relationship for 7 years exactly. Our first kiss to our last kiss, 7 years to the day. We met when I was 57 and he was 64. We'd had marriages, we'd had relationships, we'd had full lives. We did not expect that this was going to happen, but it did. He was my great love and I was his. I lost him to cancer. And although I thought I was prepared because we knew it was coming for a number of months, you can't know what it's going to be. And I know everyone I'm talking to says, yep, that's right. No matter how prepared you think you can be, you can't know, you can't have any idea how gut-wrenching and soul-shattering it is to lose your beloved. So why is sex important in this? Well, besides that, Robert and I had the most amazing sex life ever. And it led me to become a writer on senior sex. This is why I got into this profession, was having this glorious love affair and knowing that this was it was so stupid to keep the secret about how marvelous older age sexuality could be. So I decided to change that. I wrote one book and another and another and another, and now I'm my fifth. So, and along that time, I mean, this was 15 years of writing and speaking about sex. So I was well known as a sex educator, as a sex writer and speaker and blogger. And then I went dead. My sexuality went dead after Robert died. I mean, this is understandable, obviously, right? But as a sex educator, as someone who was still daily writing about sex, speaking about sex, and I had no idea how to recapture it for myself or if I even wanted to. I wasn't looking for another great love. I'd had my great love, and many people never find theirs. I felt blessed that I did have my great love, and I thought, I will never want to marry again. I will not want to maybe be in a long-term relationship again or serious relationship either, but what about sex? What about it? I knew how healthy it was for us. There are so many health reasons to be sexual, and that doesn't mean necessarily to be sexual with another person. It can mean being sexual with yourself, with your two hands, with your sex toys. You can have an active sex life without a partner, and I hope you will want to. If your body has already come back to life, I hope you're doing it now. If it hasn't, I want you to really think about how you can bring that back into your life. It's a stress reliever, it's a depression lifter, it's a sleep inducer, and all those three things. Who doesn't need that during grief? I mean, besides that, it has wonderful health benefits for your heart, for your immune system, for so many other things, for your mental health. So I'm going to certainly encourage that, and Sex After Grief has a lot about that. But what I really want to talk to you about today is the myths that we hear about sex and grief. And unfortunately, we internalize those myths. You can take notes, but you don't have to, because my gift to you from this presentation, from this series, is that I'm going to make the myths about sex and grieving, the list of them, available to you by emailing me and saying that you want them. So I want to just go through what they are. This is from my book, and also what my take is on these myths. I want to start it with a quote from from Patrick O'Malley, who is the author of Getting Grief Right, Finding Your Story of Love in the Sorrow of Loss. He says, "Day after day, you must endure the misguided comments from well-meaning people who just don't have a clue. There are those who say the right thing, others who are well-meaning but stumble because they don't know better, and others who say or do things that are deeply hurtful." Now, you're probably going to have to deal with people who judge you or shame you or worry about you because of your personal choices. You'll be judged by people who think you're dating too quickly or moving into sex with a new person too fast. You'll be judged for remaining celibate. Whatever you do, you'll be judged. Advice from friends and family can be helpful, but not always. Even when well-intentioned, advice that clamps you down sexually can stall your healing and can make you feel ashamed of your feelings and your body's desires. Likewise, advice that pushes you forward before you're ready can make you feel like you're doing grief wrong. No one is doing grief wrong. No one is doing grief wrong. So it's better to get your advice from a sex-positive therapist, a grief counselor, a hospice worker. And by sex-positive, I mean that they see sex as a normal and healthy part of life. They support you when you're ready to open up to sex again, acknowledging that there's no time frame that's right for everyone. So here are the myths that other people tell us. Some you'll hear from people in your life, some you'll read online or in magazine articles. Others are beliefs you may have internalized about how grief works. Realize these are myths, not truth. Myth. It's not really sex you're missing. It's touch. Hug a friend or get a massage. Truth. Yes, you're missing touch, but you're also missing sex. Touch plus arousal plus orgasm. And I have a marvelous quote from Alice Radash, who wrote Taboo Times in a wonderful book called Modern Loss, Candid Conversation About Grief, Beginner's Welcome. And she wrote this about self-help books for widows. They urged me not to confuse missing touch, which was acceptable, with missing sex, which was misguided. Missing touch didn't have anything to do with sex, I was told, and could be replaced with massages, cuddling, grandchildren, and even going to hair salons and getting shampoos. Clearly, she writes, they didn't know what Bart was like in bed. This loss wasn't something a hairdresser could handle. Yeah. Next myth. Wait at least a year before having sex with a new partner. Truth. Sex is comforting and an outlet for your powerful emotions and needs. There's nothing wrong with you if you want to have sex soon after your beloved's death, or even the day after the funeral. The 1-year rule is useful for most decision making, for example, marrying again or mixing finances. But when you have first sex with a new person, it is entirely up to you and your willing sex partner. And I have a whole bunch in Sex After Grief about that topic. Myth. Sex with someone new is disloyal to your deceased loved one. Truth. Guilt, especially survivor's guilt, is a powerful force, but letting it rule our actions only harms us. Maybe you took the vow to be faithful until death do us part. You didn't promise after death for eternity thereafter. It's a horrible fact that your mate is gone, and nothing you do to care for yourself is disloyal. Wouldn't your mate want you to care for yourself? Myth. Wait until you're sure the new person is a potential next mate before having sex. Truth. This may be true for you if you have firm religious convictions that only allow sexual expression within marriage. Otherwise, screening possible sex partners as potential next spouse will only create impossible hurdles and anxiety and send potential dates running. One important thing here is that you may be ready for sex long before you're ready for a relationship. So separate the two unless your convictions tell you you mustn't. And I respect that if that's so. But really look at that. Look at that for yourself. Myth. You need to get out there and start dating by now. If you haven't heard this yet, you'll hear this. Ignore it. When people push you to start dating before you're ready, it says more about them than about you. Your grief is making them uncomfortable, or they don't understand grief at all. Neither of them is a reason to respond. Don't let yourself be influenced by anyone else's notion of when you should be ready. In Sex After Grief, I deal a lot with what do you do when you think you're ready, but you're not sure you're ready. I went through this for years. I would get to a point where I thought, okay, I really have to start getting out there, start meeting people, start dating again, potentially letting a new man into my life. I don't know if I'm ready. Maybe I am. So I'd start do that. I'd start doing that. I would start meeting people, go on dates, and then I'd cry on the way home in the car. And then finally, I didn't. And finally, I started meeting people where I thought, well, this isn't a person for me, but this is actually interesting. This is interesting hearing someone else's story about where they are. And especially, I wanted at first to only date widowers because I thought only widowers can understand. And that was true in many ways. In other ways, it wasn't so true because just because you have being widowed in common doesn't necessarily mean you have anything else in common. So you might have that, but then go, okay, but still, it isn't working. Also, it narrows the dating field a lot. If you're in a big city, that won't matter. There are plenty of people. But if you are in a small town, and especially if you are older and in a small town, and realize that everything I'm saying, except for that one sentence, applies to any age. You don't have to be my age, which is 75, or around my age to make these points resonate with you. So you might consider starting out by wanting to date widowers. Do they understand things like if you suddenly lapse into talking about your beloved in present tense instead of past? Or if you hear this date talking about their own beloved and they'll be laughing about an incident they want to share, and then they'll withdraw and try not to cry, and you'll get it. So there's so many ways that really is wonderful. There's something to think about when you're ready to start doing it. Next myth. You should wait until you're no longer grieving. Ha! There is no magic moment when grief is over. Grieving is not finite. Robert died in 2008. I'm functioning. I have a rich, happy, full life right now, but I can't say grief is over. I miss him every time I breathe in or out. I see him every time I open my eyes. You know, I don't understand that idea that, oh, well, you'll be done with grief and then you'll be ready. No, you'll need to integrate moving forward with your grief. Grief does get easier. It gets less painful over time. It changes into a feeling and a deep connection you can live with. But there's no magical endpoint. Grief can coexist with desire, even with love for a new person. You know, that's something that we're not taught, that grief can coexist with love. So how do you respond to people who challenge your choices? I want to give you some ways to respond. Because if they're close friends, tell them the truth about your reasons, or don't. If they're casual friends, feel free not to respond, or if you prefer, shut them down. If they're hurtful or toxic, shut them down and avoid conversations with them. Some examples of responses you might give. And I'll put this in the handout, so if you like any of those, just adapt it to your own style of speaking and feel free to use it. I grieved a long time while my partner was ill. It's time for me to live again. I'm not ready to date again. I'll tell you, I'll know when I am. I'm moving forward on my own timetable. This doesn't need fixing from you. I'm perfectly capable of making my own decisions. I know you're concerned about me, but you don't need to be. We have differing opinions about what I should do. I know that worked for you, but we're not the same. That's private. Thank you for your concern. I'll let you know if I need your advice. Thanks. Or finally, this might be your option. That's not helpful. Besides the myths that we hear from others, there are unfortunately myths we tell ourselves. Myths that we have internalized, and we feel guilty because we've bought into beliefs that honestly don't serve us anymore if they ever did. For example, these myths. Myth: casual sex or sex with multiple partners is wrong and shameful. Truth: you are an adult. You are fully capable of making your own decisions about what sex means to you, how you want to conduct your sex life, and with whom. There are myriad options for expressing our sexuality, and we give ourselves permission for choosing the way that works for us now. Nothing you desire is wrong as long as it is consensual, safe, and honest. Choose your partners wisely and use safer sex protection every time. So, your belief system may say that only a sexually exclusive relationship is what you are willing to do or should do, and that I respect that totally. But please also accept that other people may feel differently, or that you, the person I'm talking to right now, may feel differently. And one of the things I do in Sex After Grief is to explore different kinds of relationships that have worked for people in the situation. Besides my own grief journey in this book, I also have snippets of experiences from, I haven't counted them yet, but probably more than 100 grievers who sent me their stories. Some of them needed touch right away. Some got involved in a hookup. Some waited a while, and then acquired a friend with benefits. That's someone who is actually a friend of yours with whom you also have sex, and that works for many. Some wanted to explore things that were out of bounds when they were with their partner. So they said, okay, I mean, this is the worst thing I ever could have imagined for myself, but the direction I want to take it is to explore some things that I was not able to do before and see how they feel to me. So they explored all sorts of different kinds of sex, maybe kinky, maybe polyamory, maybe hookups, or so many different ways to work in the world. And none of this is wrong. Is strength? I can't even think of that word. None of this is by its nature wrong. It's only, would it fit you or not? And certainly do it safely and honestly. I had one griever who sent in her story saying, I would like to have a friend with benefits, but is that using someone? And my response is, well, yes, but it's using someone consensually. Mm-hmm. Your friend with benefits needs to be on board for just where you are. You may be feeling, let's explore this sexually, but then you go home. and I'll let you know if and when I want to see you again. If you set it up that way ahead of time, if you say, here's where I am grieving, I am not ready for a relationship in a big way, because I think having sex with someone is a relationship, but when we say capital R relationship, I'm not ready for a relationship, but I need to bring my body out of hibernation. I need to laugh. I need to have moments of relief from this horrible grief. And I need to be touched. And if you can say to someone, this is what it's going to be, it's not going to be an ongoing relationship, or if it is, it would just be this. If this is okay with you, if this is what you need to, then let's see where it goes. But don't try, just say, well, I won't say how I'm feeling because that will hurt his feelings. Hurting his feelings would be ghosting him later, or disappearing from, not answering messages. I think honesty will attract to us the people who feel the way you do, or who are open to you. I have a chapter in the new book called How to Date a Griever. And this is for the people who are not grievers themselves, who want to date us. And so, yeah, how do you know what to say, when to say? Can you ask for the wedding photos to be turned to the wall? No, hell no, you sure can't. But, those sorts of things that I address. Back to the myths. I wasn't done with those, but I needed to tell you that. Here's an internalized myth: masturbation is wrong. The truth is that masturbation is a wise choice for experiencing sexual release and all the good things that come with it. Easier sleep, better mood, less likely to jump into the wrong relationship out of frustration. Yeah, it's a way to be sexual without involving anyone else. We can give ourselves marvelous orgasms. We can be with our beloved in our minds as we bring ourselves sexual release. That's a beautiful thing. It's a sad thing. If you cry, it doesn't mean it went wrong. It didn't go wrong, because for that moment, you were together again. I think that's worth everything. You have your memories, you have your fantasies. You know what your beloved's touch was like. Our brain is our most powerful sex organ. Seriously is. So when you close your eyes and you go into that fantasy of being with your beloved again, and your fingers are moving and your sex toy is buzzing, you can have that for some moments anyway. Oh, this is heavy, isn't it? But grief is heavy, and sex and grief is heavy, and sex is complicated even when you're not grieving. So just realize that sex is not just partnered sex. Sex is the way you express yourself sexually, what it takes to pleasure you and arouse you and bring you relief and fulfillment and I hope a giggle or two at the end too. Next myth. If I choose my next partner carefully, I don't have to worry about sexually transmitted infections, otherwise known as STIs. Truth. Use barrier protection always with everyone. I'm not going to go into my whole spiel here because it would go a long time, but I want to point you to where you can hear it. I made a free webinar called Safer Sex for Seniors with Joan Price. It's on YouTube. Safer Sex for Seniors with Joan Price. And I give a 45-minute webinar class about safer sex options, how to use them. It's pretty funny, actually, because if you can't laugh about safer sex, what can you laugh about? So I urge you to view it. And even if you're not a senior, I know you'll enjoy it and you'll learn some things. Myth. This is a real heavy myth. Nobody would want to have sex with me anyway. Yeah, right? That's depression talking. You may see yourself as undesirable right now because you're suffering too much to engage with another person. That's valid. You're not ready. But if you think no one would want you because you're too old or not in shape or sad, please question that age shaming, body shaming, grief shaming attitude, which will only hold you back. Myth. We can only love once. I'm done now. Truth. It may feel like you can only love once, but many of us have discovered that loving deeply and completely does not prevent us from loving again. It will feel different, but it will be equally real. It's something you have every right not to believe right now, especially if this has been your first and only loss of a beloved. There's no reason you should believe me when I say, trust me, it can happen again. But in my book, I have a whole chapter with excerpts from experiences for people for whom it did happen again, and how they describe the grief, the grief of losing their beloved, and then how baby steps, they got into another relationship and it developed over time to be another love, different, but still a love. And it's good to know that's possible going forward, even if your first reaction is, not for me, thank you, that can't happen. So at the end of every chapter of Sex After Grief, I give you a takeaway, an action plan that you can put into action right away. And for the chapter that I've excerpted the myths from, the takeaway is this: which myths have interfered with you moving forward in your own way? Create your own response to people who try to advise you or judge you in an unwelcome way. And those are my myths and truths about sex and grieving.
That was amazing. I love everything you said. Like, I love your comebacks. I can speak for a lot of widows. You hear the most ridiculous things, and I have also often prepared responses for some of the stupid things I hear, just because you can be so caught off guard that you want to be rude, or you can almost come off a little disrespectful. So I have pre-planned out some responses, and that's a great idea, because sometimes people can stab you in the heart, and you can, you can lash out, or you can lose it and just cry because you're not prepared for some of this. I mean, I hate to say stupidity, but it really is. Like, people just don't understand. And yeah, like you said, they mean well, but yeah, I've heard some really hurtful and painful things.
You know
And
what occurs to me is for the gift to obtain the gift of the handout. I People are going to get my email where they can contact me. I would love to hear from other grievers and hear your story too, of what was the most awful or the most ludicrous or the you can't believe this thing you heard from someone, and what your comeback either was or should have been. I'd love to collect those.
well, that's a good one. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, you would be surprised. Like I'm in widows groups every night, and I am always just like, people, women will come in and post and be like, "You're never going to believe what someone just said," and
Oh,
I'm never surprised, honestly. Some of it is more shocking than others, but I am just some of the stupid things people say, or just insensitive things people
yeah.
say, or are just shocking. But yeah, having a planned comeback has really got me out of some really awkward situations, so I don't lose it. So I liked what you said. You said, I wrote this down because you said they say things because your grief makes them uncomfortable. That's a big aha
Yes,
moment
that's right.
too for me, because that I can see how that's very true, because they
Yeah,
want you to move on so they don't have to feel uncomfortable around you anymore.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And I never thought about it from that
yeah,
perspective. So that's why everyone's trying to move you along. You need to get over it. You need to move on and
yeah.
stop grieving, date someone else. Yeah, you hear it all. But
And
that,
another reason, Carolyn, is that they've bought into the stages of grief. And we know that there aren't carefully delineated stages of grief, and you go that are linear, that you go from one to the other, and then you're done, and then
yeah,
you move on. No, it isn't like that. It's a spiral. It could be 5 stages of grief, could be 25 stages of grief, we're all different. And um, even the originator of that system didn't mean it to be used the way it's used now.
yeah. And
So,
you hit all those 5 stages, but you can hit them again and again and again.
oh
You go through them and
yeah,
come back, and you go through them again and come back.
that's
And yeah,
right.
it's endless. Yeah.
It's a spiral.
Yeah.
Goes like this. It doesn't go zoop, done,
Mhm.
off the chart. No, it goes okay, da 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 da,
Yeah.
or it can.
Yeah. I just love what you said. I love giving ourselves permission to be happy, and that there is no right way or wrong way. I've heard in the grief groups from one extreme to the other of I will never love again,
Yes.
to other women who are just like, I can't stop. Like, I'm with a different partner every night and I don't know what's wrong with me. And they feel like they're losing it. And they're just, just don't have any expectations for yourself. Just, you need what you need, and it's okay. It's your
Yes.
business. It's your life. It's your body.
Yeah.
Do what's right for you.
But do it
And
safely and do it honestly.
yeah, honestly yeah, that was a good point you made. As long as there's that communication
Yeah.
and each partner knows what they're getting into,
Yeah.
we're adults.
Yeah.
This is real life. This is, something that we all struggle with, or, you know, like you said, we have these myths in our head of what's okay and what's not okay, how you're raised religiously, what your parents think, all these
Mm-hmm.
things that are drilled into you
Mm-hmm.
all the time. But, like for me, I kind of feel like once I became a widow, um, all my old rules went out the window. Like
Mm-hmm.
that was then. I'm a new me
Yeah.
now. So I'm making my own rules and I'm deciding for me. I'm not doing what everyone else expects or wants, or it challenged my religious beliefs. It challenged my, like, what do I believe? Like it
Yeah.
really did change me as a person. And so with that, just kind of let it go and just
Yeah.
live today, live right here, right now, and be true to yourself. And, as long as you're being safe, I, I've been widowed twice. So that first time, I did have people tell me that it was too soon. I did have people that told me I needed to move on before then, but I did it
Yeah.
when I was ready, and I did love again. And like you said, it was an amazing, amazing relationship, because I knew what it was like to lose someone.
Mm-hmm.
So, like the things that we like, even just holding hands for the first time, what an amazing feeling that was.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
you have such gratitude for, well, I've never thought I would hold someone's hand again. So when
That's
you
right.
do,
Yeah.
it's like fireworks. It's like amazing. And
Yeah.
so it's
Yeah.
to rob yourself of that, because you can love again. It's not the same. It's definitely not the same. It's different, but it's no less amazing.
And you can be ready to hold hands with someone before you're ready to love again, too. They don't have to go hand in hand, if you'll forgive the pun.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think you just have to stop the expectations, or
Yes.
I kind of think this time around, I don't care what, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, but I don't really care about what other people think. This is my journey. This is my road to travel. And if someone doesn't like it, well, they can apply that to their life when they're in the same situation. But
That's
for
right.
me, this is
Yeah.
who I have to be and what I have to do. And I've lost twice, but I've met a new man, and I'm trying a third time. Like,
Okay.
it's life, and I like having a partner in my life, and I am not afraid. Yeah, could I lose him too? Absolutely, it
Yeah.
could happen. But I survived one. I survived two. I'm stronger. I'm better for it. I live life unapologetically, and I love hard, like
Ah, that's beautiful.
100%. And so I know I can do it again, and I know you can too. I 100% know that. All of you out there, if
Yes.
you give yourself permission, you
Yeah.
can. It's not a betrayal. I feel like my loves were with me because they wanted to make me happy. And I feel like if they are
Uh-huh.
wherever they are, whatever you believe, if they were to sit here and see me sitting on my couch sobbing, that would feel terrible. I wouldn't want to see my loves pining away from me when I was gone. I would want them to be happy. And I know mine would too. And I think that that makes them proud, and and
And
not feel like it's at their doing that I'm miserable for the rest of my life.
yeah. And along with that, although we are talking to people who are in grief, I want to expand this, and I hope people will tell other people about this idea. What you said about what our beloved would want for us, if possible, let's have that conversation while both of us are alive.
Yeah.
Um, Many of the grievers who wrote to me with their experiences, well, not many, but a few of the grievers who wrote to me with their experiences said, while my wife was ill, she said, when I die, don't be a hermit. Go out and live life fully, love fully. And he had that permission. He knew he had that permission. This is one that I'm thinking of right now. But there were a number of them who had that conversation earlier. It's a hard conversation, but if you can just even pass it on to all your loved ones, is to have that conversation. After I die, here's what I hope for you. Here's what I want for you. Here's how you can honor our love. And it doesn't even have to be a couple. It can be a family member. It can be a close friend.
Yeah.
Anyone you can give permission to be fully alive when you're not. That's a gift.
Yeah. And do it now. Do it before
Do it
someone is
now.
sick, because when it becomes, like with my husband, once he was sick, it felt weird to have that conversation with him, because it was like talking to him about death, like removing hope. So this is what I tell my sisters, my family, have the conversation now while it's not weird and awkward and feeling like,
Yeah.
I'm giving up
Yep.
on you. Do it now
Yes.
while you still have the time
Yes.
to just have it logically, like, cremation or burial. Like, let's just
Mm-hmm.
talk about stuff, because this is real life and it happens.
Yes. Yes.
Even though it happened to me the first time, I still didn't do it the second time. I only had 11 months. I hadn't had that conversation. But I know
Oh.
them both well enough to know that I would have permission if they could tell me. So I don't have any doubt in my heart about that. But there are a lot of a lot of the widows who do feel like, like, I don't know if he would want this for me, and they feel like they need permission. So yeah,
Yeah.
have that conversation now. Like, it's
Yeah.
important. Give each other permission to be happy. Yeah.
Right.
So, and you want to tell them where they can find your free gift?
Absolutely. If you email me,
Mm-hmm.
Joan at joanprice.com, and you say that you're one of the widow warriors and you would like your free excerpt from Sex After Grief, then I will send that to you as a PDF. And I will also invite you to subscribe to my newsletter, because then, and I'll give you other information too so that you don't have to go looking. My website is joanprice.com, and you can learn more about my books there. And I wish you wholeness, a rich life. I wish you the best.
Me too. I love that. Thank you so much, Joan. I think this has been a really necessary conversation to have. I think it's one of the hardest topics we as widows tackle. And it's one of the few things that we actually want to talk about because it's so personal and so private. And it feels, like you said, preconceived myths make you feel like it's wrong to even touch on it. But it is one of the things that I see women having the most trouble with is we know we want to be happy and this is a part of it. But yeah, it's a really difficult conversation to have. But with your book, talks like this, like let's just talk about it. Jump in the Facebook group and tell us what you thought about Joan's session today. You know, how you feel about it, what you've heard, the myths you've heard, the stupid things people say. But it's, I mean, sometimes you just like, really, did that just come out of your mouth? And but share those things with us in the group. We'd love to hear. Joan can be in the group and she'd love to hear your responses. Like she said, she'd love to hear the things that you've heard and the things that people have said to you and your responses or what you wish you should have said. And let's come up with our own responses going forward.
Yes, let's make that list longer.
Yeah, let's talk about it because it's the only way we can help each other through. So I look forward to seeing you all in the group, and I want to thank you again, Joan, for discussing this topic and for doing what you do in the world.
Thank you, Carolyn. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I will see you all in the group. Bye-bye.